Yalla. Okay. We'll do this, I think we'll do this in English.
Yes.
So, first of all, I would like to welcome very important guests that we have today. Dr. Kerstin von der Krone from the University of Frankfurt, who is, amongst other things, is treasuring the music, a very big music collection. Part of it is known as the Freimann Sammlung, and the other is, you will explain that it's not only the Freimann Sammlung. We'll talk about that. Professor Kligman, our friend from last year, also UCLA, musicologist, and it was Mark's idea after last year's convention that we do something about music, German music from archives. And it wasn't, I don't think it was what you meant at the first, but it developed to be a very interesting project, and you still think that it's good, so
Yeah.
you must have done something right. And here is Christoph Koop from the music Edition Peters from Leipzig, who is our partner in producing a whole series of rediscovered music of the German synagogue. Now, the whole project is, we gave it like a big title that's called Hashivenu. Stealing the word from its original meaning of Hashivenu elech Adonai enashuv v'chadesh yameinu kekedem. We thought this is an imperative that the music, the music notes are shouting from the archive, bring us back. Many of us who have been conducting or singing or trying to promote this beautiful synagogal music have been confronted with the question, but where do you get the music from? And we thought we need to take the question really seriously and give a good answer to this question, and to make this music reachable and easier to perform. So we thought we would show you the project. Like, we'll talk about the treasure, the problem, and the solution. So Kerstin, you will talk about the treasure.
So I'm very happy to be here. It's actually just almost with me at the same time that I'm in Mannheim. A little bit louder, okay. I try to do my best. My voice is a little bit slipping. Just for your information, my slides are in German. I speak in English. You can also ask Hebrew, maybe. Let's see. I will talk a little bit about the collection, the so-called Freimann collection, and how we work with music prints. And now it's not working. That's interesting. I don't know why. Yeah, now it's working. Okay, Freimann. So I overall talk a little bit about our music prints in the collection. Most of them are part of the so-called Freimann collection. Freimann collection is named after Aaron Freimann. Aaron Freimann is my predecessor. He was the head of the collection between 1898 and 1933. So 35 years. As you probably are aware, he was, as many German Jews, thrown out of his job basically in March, April 1933. He was not allowed to enter the library again. But he remained in Frankfurt. He was the last president of the community, and he left to New York early 1939 and died in 1948 in New York. He is one of the most, he was one of the most accomplished German Jewish scholars, a bibliographer, an expert of Jewish books and manuscripts. And he played a key role in developing the collection to one of the most astonishing collections of the early 20th century of Jewish books in Europe. Although when he came, it was already a collection there. And that has to do with the history of the collection. It is a very particular history. It's unusual for German public collections regarding Hebraica and Judaica, which is the terms we use in the library world, because most of the public collections which you find today in state libraries and university libraries are going back to the treasures of the kings and the dukes and so on. And Hebrew books are collected as part of Oriental collections. This is not the case in Frankfurt, which is actually a problem, you know, European Jewish history as part of Orientalism. I mean, you know, and we have some weird thing going on here with the slides.
It's not you, it's me.
It's you, okay. As long as we find, okay, it's one slide too much, you might go back.
Like this?
Not more.
More which direction?
Back, this is the last slide.
Oh, right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
So, the historical collection is basically two large parts, a collection of Jewish collections, which were donated to this former city library, municipal library, Stadtbibliothek Frankfurt, which is one of the predecessors of today's University Library. And the first donation came in 1861 by Isaac Marcus Jost, who was the first modern Jewish historian and later a teacher at the Philanthropien at the Jewish school in Frankfurt, which exists till today as the Lichtigfeldschule. And he dedicated, when he died, part of his book collection to the Stadtbibliothek with the effort to teach the broader public on Judaism. It was kind of an emancipatory act. And in the following decades, and then later also with the support and work of Aaron Freimann, Frankfurt Jews donated their collections or donated money to buy significant collections. And here you find a selection of those key collections. One will reappear, that's the Hallgarten collection, because that is basically a music collection. But just to give you an impression, and if you're interested, come by. We also show the books sometimes. I love to do it, actually. And here is like the key information on the collections. As I said, I prepared it in German. As I said,
I want to interrupt with a stupid question. What's the difference between Hebraica and Judaica?
Hebraica, all prints in Hebrew letters, which means Hebrew, Yiddish, all the languages, Jewish languages, printed in Hebrew. It also means books on mathematics. We have a wonderful Yiddish book on how to calculate from 1711. I love it.
Book.
Yeah, it was printed in Frankfurt. It's a wonderful book. And Judaica, all books on Judaism, which also would include Antisemitica and also like research literature today in all the language non-Hebrew or non-Hebrew letters.
What about a translated Sidur or something, half Hebrew, half German?
There would be Hebraica, basically, or it can be both. And Judaica is often also kind of the overturn for everything. But yeah, and then it's also, you know, in the synagogue, it's like for the objects.
But how to catalog is a question that we will
so
go back to.
Mid-19th century, it is very historically it's very involved in part of Frankfurt Jewish history and Frankfurt history as such. It became already international and known in the early 20th century. After the war, most of the Judaica collection survived. Large parts of the Hebraic collection, unfortunately not, because the city was very much involved in the movement, and they way too late brought these treasures out of the city, and basically the Hebrew books, or approximately 12,000 Hebrew books, were burned down when the city burned down. After the war, the remaining collection became the fundament of a kind of a national collection mandate, which is funded by the German Research Foundation. Today, we are still having this task as part of the so-called Fachinformationsdienst Jüdische Studien. It's targeting more researchers, but it also helps us to provide still a lot of books, and this is open to everyone. And my predecessor, Rachel Heuberger, already started in the 90s to digitize the material. Very early on, she saw the chance to bring these things together, and that's the reason why you have access to the Freimann collection, which is one part of a large digital collection. These are the numbers. We can skip them. If you'd like to know more, I can tell you later. The basis for the digital Freimann collection is the Catalogue of Aaron Freimann. And his task was actually to write a catalogue on Judaica and a catalogue on Hebraica. The Hebraica catalogue is lost. It's not entirely sure whether it ever existed. We have handwritten short catalogues on the Hebrew books, actually. The former existed.
He wrote that when he was still in his job, or?
Librarians wrote that early 20th century, probably based on other books, on card catalogs and stuff like that. And it also, this survived because Solomon Schocken wanted to buy the Hebrew books for the National Library in Jerusalem, so there are copies. And we, from the part of the collection which is lost, the copies of the catalog survived in Jerusalem. So it's a very typical story, actually.
So you had the list, but you didn't have the
books.
The books.
But the Judaica Catalogue appeared in 1932, and which also kind of helped that the collection survived, which is also again a very German story. The Nazis were interested in it because it was well known, and that's the reason why the Institut zur Forschung der Judenfrage, which is like, it's not research, you know, came to Frankfurt. They never used the collection because they actually robbed the whole Europe and had enough books, so they didn't need the books which were present in Frankfurt. But that was also the reason why the Judaica collection was already stored off-site a little bit earlier than everything else, together with the Hebrew manuscripts, the Incunabula, and some other parts.
But they did store it because they realized that it's worth something.
The Nazis didn't throw out, they actually wanted to, like, they collect everything, but it's a story. So, where is the synagogal music in his catalog? It's also a special catalog from the librarian's perspective because it's one of the first thematically ordered catalogs. And he put the music, you don't see it properly here, the catalog is digitized, you can check that online. He put it under praktische Theologie, practical theology, synagogal music, and then you have two parts, the introductory part, allgemeines, general stuff, and then you had the music prints. And just give you an impression, it lists about 250 volumes, titles, it's more volumes because you sometimes have multi-volume titles. And this is mostly then digitized. Here you see this is the probably most known German Jewish music, Lewandowski and Sulza. But part of this collection goes back, or part of the music prints go back to Charles Heilgarten, who donated a collection of 174 musical prints to the Stadtbibliothek in 1901, of which most are synagogal music, not all. There are also Yiddish folklore music from New York, which has to do with his personal story. He was born in Germany, went to New York, became very wealthy. He was an entrepreneur and a banker. But he had some health issues, so he relocated to Frankfurt because the climate was better. And then he kind of was a patron of social affairs and also of Jewish affairs. But it's a little bit unclear how he came to the collection because he was not very well versed in Jewish things, in religious practice, in Hebrew, in anything. He asked questions to the rabbi in Frankfurt on certain things because he didn't know much. He never converted, but he was a very typical wealthy upper class assimilated German Jew with a limited knowledge of Judaism. And there is a short article by Rachel Heuberger on the collection in a volume which was published alongside an exhibition which was done in Frankfurt about 20 years ago. So now we have again this kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. We have, okay. So, I might have, no, there's one slide back, if you can have it. One after that. We don't get it. Anyway, I had also a nice slide with a few examples from his collection. We just went to the shelf.
Is this the big or the small?
I don't remember.
Let's try and open
the interesting thing with this part of the collection, the musical prints in general and the Heilgarten prints, after the war they were taken out of the Judaica collection and put in a newly established music collection. So it was actually Rachel Heuberger, when she came to the library in the early 90s, she thought these musical prints are lost. And they are not. She found them when they prepared the exhibition on Heilgarten, and then also they found more when they digitized. Yes, this one. And you have just a little selection of things from the Heilgarten collection, which is synagogal music, but also other stuff, like der Marsch der israelitischen Nationalgarde zu Warschau. It's a very interesting thing. I was very astonished by this title page. You have like excerpts from Jewish newspapers or magazines which have notes supplements with notes. You have special prints, pre-prints, stuff like that. And when you see this was my title page, this is also interesting because it very much connects to the collection. It has a dedication by Birnbaum to Abraham Berliner, who was the academic teacher of Abraham Freimann, who was a professor at the Orthodox Rabbinic Seminar in Berlin. The funny thing is, we have also the library of Abraham Berliner, because the library bought it at some point with like help of Freimann. How this then became part of the Heidelberg collection, I don't know, but it ended up also in Frankfurt. So it's a very interesting thing. I'm coming more from like Jewish cultural history, book history, not so much from music, so I'm more interested in those things. Unfortunately, the material part of these prints is not good. They are often printed on cheap paper, so it's very difficult to preserve them. So it's good that they're digitized. We don't give them easily out. Some are in a better condition. The lithographic prints are usually in a better condition compared to these late 19th century prints. And
you also have in the collection handwritten
we also have
notebooks of Chazanim, like they just wrote it for themselves or for maybe.
And since we also talked about the pre-modern history, we also have early modern Klaglieder, stuff like that. And the digital collection here you see just as it is presented today, as everybody knows it probably. And there you also always find a Freimann systematic. So we always like replicate how it is in a catalog, how it is like structured there. And there's also a little section on music prints under Künste, under the arts, but this is not synagogal music. And now we come to, which is then also kind of giving the torch to Mark, how catalog data looks like. So this is our catalog, and you see here, this is the Bear print, and you have a regular record, which is much enriched. So we do a lot of the metadata enrichment in the library world. We call this metadata. It helps you to find stuff. We also have, in addition, that this was formerly given by Heilgarten to the library. So this is provenance information. It's added. You have then in the digital collection, you also find this kind of information, and you see here in the first page of the table of content what the problem is. We usually only have, if you have compilation of compositions, like this one, a collection of compositions in one publication, we usually have the title of the whole book. We usually don't have the single catalog records on the single compositions. We wouldn't be able to do that. It would require a lot of personal resources, which is not available, and people who are an expert in music and in group. But in some cases, for some of the digital copies, we have actually linked table of contents. So people who know.
You know, Bear is a wonderful example because he's the Cantor's Cantor, and his book has 1,505 different melodies.
Wow.
1,505. This thing.
I mean, the book has 358 pages.
Yeah.
I downloaded it.
Good for
I
you.
have it.
You can download it. You can download everything. This is great.
Yeah.
And now really, maybe you need to say one or two more things, but otherwise, I mean, so
basically that's the problem. Right. I kind of introduced already the problem.
Exactly.
Right.
The problem is that you would never find the single composition.
So we have an amazing treasure in Frankfurt.
That's for sure.
And if you look for anything, just go through the 20,000 pages in very, very good scan quality, most of them. You will find it if you have the time.
And the expertise and the Hebrew knowledge.
And if you know if they wrote it like Kol Nidre or Kol Nidre with C or with K, Mark, tell us about what's the problem in your point of view and how we solve it.
Yeah, I didn't make any slides, but this is a good slide for you. So it's a thrill to meet Kerstin because we've been in touch, and I've been using this collection for many, many years. It really is the most comprehensive digital collection of Kantoren. So to set up what the problem is, now that we've digitized information, we have lots of information. The question is, how do you find it? There's one level by which, if you know that Lewandowski is a composer, you know that there's a publication, you can go to this and you can find it. What we want to do is do, as Kirsten has been saying, is the aspect of the metadata is that you can have another entry point into this information. That by doing the metadata correctly, it's a matter of just doing the Google search or whatever search system that you're on, that the metadata will then take you to where you need to go. So if you don't know where something exists, then the metadata is really very, very significant. So one way to sort of give you a perspective on this is that cantorial music, we have such an abundance of cantorial music in terms of printed editions of music of the 19th, early 20th century. The estimate is that we are probably about 700, 750. There are many, many manuscripts. Now, what's really very interesting is if you look at the world of Jewish music and you look at the world of klezmer music, there's no klezmer music that is printed from the 19th century or printed from the early 20th century. It's really more or less something that's become part of an oral tradition that's really been revived through a lot of much later recordings. In different projects that I've done to try and put this into perspective, if you look at the 78, the collection of 78 sound recordings, only about 10% of it is klezmer. The vast majority, 2/3 of it, is cantorial music. The other 15 or so percent is really Yiddish songs or Yiddish theater. So cantorial music over-dominates the music of European tradition from the 18th, 19th, 20th century of what we've inherited. The big problem is we don't have indices to find this music. I mean, it's a real shame that in so many other traditions, if you look at, hymns in the Christian tradition, there are so many different indices that you can go to find that information. As a field, we are so far behind. We are so far behind. So the center that I direct, the Lowell Milken Center for Music of American Jewish Experience, we're in Los Angeles. We don't have the type of collections they have on the East Coast at YIVO or Harvard or all these other storied institutions. So I've been, in a sense, mining data so that our center can really help aggregate a lot of this information in different ways. So the way that we started the project is that there does not exist a discography of American Jewish music. So I've taken on the task of doing that. And what we've done is we've taken the metadata from the Florida Atlantic University collection called the Jewish Sound Archive, the collection from the University of Pennsylvania called the Freimann Collection, and also the material from the Mayrin collection, that's at the University of Wisconsin. We've taken all that data, aggregated it together. It's about 130,000 records, which sounds like a lot, but in the way the computer systems are set up now, it's not a lot of information. It's just a matter of getting it, cleaning it, finding different ways to use it. And now that we've gathered all this material, we can do all sorts of things to really start telling stories about it. What I found is that Kol Nidre is the most recorded item amongst all this material. The next thing that's the most recorded is Rosh Mandlin. But and if you look at pre-World War II, it's dominated by cantorial music. Post-World War II, things are dominated, and this is in American collections, right? Is dominated by Yiddish songs. So Yiddish songs definitely have had more of an impact. But the bottom line is that particularly cantorial music, we have very few finding aids. We have very few ways to get into the material. So what our goal in our discussions, and you'll hear more about the Peters edition in a second, is to try and collect all of these table of contents. I don't know what the plural of that is, but to try and collect all these table of contents.
Table I or content I. Yeah.
Content team, and aggregate that information. So if you want to say who's written Hashivenu, you can go and that you can find that. So to just be a little technical for a second, there's something that's called an SQL database, and those are databases which are built on relations between different items. You have different tables and you relate them by different different components to it. We built our system on that, but now we've learned that the underpinnings of Wikipedia is called Wikibase, or the technical term for it is linked open data, which gives you a much easier way of connecting all this information in different ways.
I just want to translate it to non-librarian
Yeah.
English. The SQL is the system with the librarian look.
Yeah.
When you look for something and you don't find anything, and then comes the librarian and said, why didn't you do the F22 XXX comma comma, and then you have it. But most of us are not librarians, and we need to find things just asking a question, like Google, asking a question and getting the answer. So this is basically, the SQL is kind of, you need to know something about how to catalog in order to retrieve
Right.
the knowledge.
I have a real funny story related to that, and that is that we have a digital humanities department at UCLA, and we're about to start a digital humanities, academic program. You can get a degree in digital humanities. It's going to be one of the first programs in the United States where there's a program like this. So I'm working with people from the team, both on the back end and front end for the things that we're doing, and we need a few $100,000 to do this. So I went to a big donor to do a pitch, and the donor said, well, can't you just go to AI and pull these together? And then it's really funny, I didn't think of that, so we did it at the meeting. And you can find a lot, but the problem is not everything is findable because it's not yet there.
Yeah,
And that's-
the quality of AI depends on the data.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It hasn't been
we
fully-
don't have that good data. You can do that with so many other fields. You cannot, if you do it with controlling music, you'll get something, but it's really, we need to sort of, mine the data to a much greater extent. But this linked open data is what's being done internationally by libraries throughout the country. And so we're trying to find, the best standards to do this. So again, our project is starting at UCLA with recordings of music, almost because that's sort of the low-hanging fruit, as they say, in the sense that we can kind of get that data really quickly. A lot of this data, we're going to have to find the methods to really, if not key in the information, to be able to scan these pages and then bring them in and so forth. So that's sort of the universe in which we're working in. So when Amnon and Assaf brought this project, to me to say, this is something we want to do. We've been exploring this. So we're trying to get our team at UCLA to start working with Kerstin and her team. So hopefully we'll start making progress.
And now I want to add another layer to the story. Thank you, Mark. So we have Kerstin, who has the treasure, and we have Mark and Kerstin, of course, trying to developing the method. Now I'll tell you what's the problem. First of all, going through 20,000, more or less 20,000 pages, I guess, of material. The other problem is if you want to digitize them, and you're looking for a Kol Nidre. Are you looking for a Kol Nidre, C-O-L Nidre with Y at the end, with J, only with E, with apostrophe, without accent, and how, like in the older systems, you have to ask the exact question in order to get an answer. No, we don't have a Kol Nidre. Oh, with Q, yes, we have it. But you don't get any help. Now, the wiki data, Kerstin was kind enough to invite me to a few days of a seminary where I realized what you do, and I realized why I shouldn't be the one doing it. Because it's really, it was a funny thing. There was this type, a question mark, QQFR, and it didn't work, and then a lady sitting right next to me said, oh, you do, and then I had a map of all the synagogues in Germany. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, in Wikidata. Now the nice thing about Wikidata, as opposed to Wikipedia, Wikipedia, if somebody writes an article about Joyce Rosenzweig in English, and another guy writes an article about Joyce Rosenzweig in German, it's two different libraries. There's no connection between the two. Now, what Wikidata is doing is connecting everything that there is about, let's say, about you, and you can put as many aliases as you want. So I can write Joyce Rosenzweig in Hebrew with Gimel, apostrophe, Vav, Yud, Samech, or in Arabic, or in Cyrillic, or it doesn't matter what, it would connect to the term Joyce Rosenzweig. Now back to Jewish liturgy, I can write every possible variation of Kol Librei in every language. Ktiv Maleh, Ktiv Chaser, unlimited number of aliases, which will lead me to the main article, which is in our case Kol Librei at the Freimann Sammlung. I call it Freimann Sammlung just for the term. Everything that the Freimann Sammlung has to Kol Librei.
Just contextualize a little bit. So Wikidata is one system where also like lay people, scholars, and experts work together. It's open and so on. And the libraries worldwide, not only in Germany and worldwide, work with the system or with a kind of data which is called in German Normdaten and in English authority data. And basically, there it's done at libraries like kind of maintain these databases. There's the National Library of Israel does that. We have a German language thing. The Library of Congress does it for the US and basically the Anglophone world. And there you have this kind of structure for names, for persons, for people. So I don't have it prepared and I don't want to mess up the computer, but we have, for example, such an entry on Maimonides with like 40, 50 different spelling versions, including all the transliterations of the Hebrew versions of his name. And you also can do it for so-called work titles. And that would be also something, if you work on those projects, librarians and libraries are a helpful tool because they can establish this data, maintain it, and then you can make those digital tools work. And yes, AI will be an interesting tool to work on the data, but it works best if you have high quality authority data.
So that means you need to talk to each other to understand like which format would be would comply for the two methods. Now so this is one part of the project, like doing a catalog that would help us. Yes, Gideon?
Just a quick question, in terms of accessing this, is this like
It's free.
FSU or Dartmouth that you have to make a username and
Nothing. It's open for everybody.
Well, in Wikidata you have to have a user account actually to add data. But when you want to use it, you don't need it.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
I mean, already now, and I think most of us know the Freimann Sammlung, and if not, you really should, because there's everything. Everything we usually use is there and is good quality, and I use it all the time. Now, I was talking about the problem. I mean, the treasure is great, but there are problems in the items as such. One of the problems is that many of these composers were not having too much money, and they published it at their own costs, and the quality is not always very good. Even Lewandowski, the great, has many mistakes. It looks like he didn't do many test printings before printing the actual works, and there are many obvious mistakes both in the text and in the music. This is one problem. The other problem is that they had there was not one binding method of transliterating Hebrew to German. So I remember the Lampel, Sasha and Shulamit sang Lampel yesterday. Originally is I remember is Matovu Ovolecho Yaakov, and by Lewandowski is Ma with H, I think. Tovu, or he doesn't have this Tauvu. So it's another way of notating the text. this is just Lewandowski and Lampel, but there are many others, and each one of them developed a different way of transliterating the text. Now, if you're looking for Kol Nidre, you might have like 2-3 variations you come up, but if you look Ve'etayu or like things like that, it really gets very complicated very, very quickly. Now, when Amnon and I thought that we want to have a music edition that is practical, that we can answer these people asking us where do you get the music from or how can I perform it, and you know, many of us here have experience with conducting choirs, or you know, standing in front of a choir and teaching synagogal music, or language coaching and everything.
Or being confronted by
church musicians.
I want to perform this music, where can I get it?
What can I get?
Right. We thought we are, you know, we come from the Praxis, and we are not musicologists, we're not scientists, we are chazanim. We want this music to be performed the way we are used to sing it, which means not anymore Ashkenazi, but Sephardi pronunciation. It's criticizable, but this is the way we decided we wanted to do it. It's fine if you think it's not good, but then you're most welcome to do your own edition. And then we developed a very, very simple method of transliteration. We're going to talk about it after Christoph will present the project from the Peters point of view. Again, Christoph Koop from the Peters music edition. It was surprisingly easy to get the yes from Peters when we were asking them about the project. Christoph just liked it from the very first moment, and we got to know each other a few years ago, apropos planning to do a project with Lampel, and then came COVID and everything. But then I think you called me about some Yiddish transliterations, and so we kept somehow in touch. And then when I had this idea, Christoph was very, very helpful and enthusiastic. Now, Christoph, I would like to ask you to tell us about the Hashivenu project from your point of view, or from the point of view of Peters, and maybe about the story of Peters in this context. Would you like to sit by the? Yeah, sure. So,
You just and before you start, excuse me, but the idea is that we've developed is basically republishing some of this music, or the best of this music, in the way that Assaf described it, modern Hebrew, revised editions, in 8 volumes, comprising of Kabbalat Shabbat, Yamim Noraim, Rosh Hashanah, I think, 2 editions, Regalim,
Life cycle.
What else?
Wait, Kabbalat Shabbat, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Regalim, small holidays, life cycle, diverse.
Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be in touch with you before you gave me the proposal of this edition, and it was good to see a result of research that came to me and was easier than to begin from the scratch on. And you invested, I think, a lot of time and knowledge
and money. Thank you, Mark.
The doors were open when you came with the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
We started with a special edition on Yiddish choral music, started maybe 5 years ago with the mentioned title, Boschinkis,
And
and also Trankoje was der Geste mit Jorn, hat als Jüngere and Wein nicht, and was the sixth title which couldn't be published, and this was a start of when it came up to us that we said we should do more in Jewish or Yiddish music, but Corona came in between, and then Peter's edition was sold in 2023 and was bought by Consortium Wise Music, which is keen on buying old trademarks, and they print branch was sold to Freimann Music, which was the distributor of Peter's edition in the UK. They combined it. It was quite a tricky story, and now I'm here as an employee of Freimann Music. It's a bit strange, but I publish the music of edition Peter's as it was before. So only the copyright is different.
That's fine.
We didn't understand, but great.
It needs some days to explain.
Business context is it's still better for us.
Yeah. And therefore it was amazing to start with an edition focused on synagogal music. I personally came in touch with this music by the Leipzig synagogal. Many of my friends are singing there, and I sang also. As I've mentioned, the former conductor came from the same village as I, and was
Ludwig Böhmen.
no, but also he has he's the son of
The organist.
the organist, and his sister was Kantor in my
Oh,
parish.
okay. Yeah.
And to mention the open doors, it was quite easy to convince all the colleagues and especially the management to invest in this edition, because the history of Peters is so connected with the history of Jewish music in Leipzig, and that it was not so obvious that the project would be commercialissimo,
Yeah.
but we have to do it not at least for our history, and this was clear for the management, which is based in London, and we are now together for 2.5 years, so they have to trust a bit in us. And
Maybe you can tell us about the Jewish history or the Jewish point in the history of Peters.
Maybe you know that Peter's history was 222 years when it was sold, and it started with this guy coming from Vienna, Franz Anton Hofmeister, was a musician and also publisher there, was in good contact with Beethoven, and this was a good story for starting up this company. And he went back to Vienna.
Okay, you can just.
Fine. And his partner Ambrosius Krone continued for the next 6 years, and then came Karl Friedrich Peters in 1813, and led the firm until 27, and a third manager, Karl Gottlieb Böhme, defined to remain the name Peters, and since this time it is Peters, but was always named Bureau de Musique and then the name. First Hofmeister and Kühne, then only Kühne, then Karl Friedrich Peters, and then only Bureau de Musique, and then CF Peters from mid-19th century on. And then was a short time when the city of Leipzig owned this company, and then Julius Friedlander from Berlin bought it and invested in technical development so that printing got cheaper, and he took in the part owner, Dr. Max Abraham. This is Karl Friedrich Peters, and this is Max Abraham, lawyer coming from Danzig, and he brought in the Jewish side of the history, and he was keen on this combination of technical development and understanding of musical repertoire. And he came in when these so-called classical the how do you say Schutzfrist? Copyright. Yeah,
The copyright.
Copyright time for all classical poets ended up. He developed this Green Series edition Peters. Before it was only the Bureau de Musique and so on, but edition Peters is from 1867 on a fixed term for this Green Series edition. And was founded in the flat where Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy lived for his last 2 years in the today Goldschmidtstraße, former Königstraße. And then it was such a commercial success because he could offer the music for a fifth of the price, and therefore you can find so many editions on Grandma's route. And
That's the go-to place for
yes.
any of us that need opera
Yeah.
scores, piano, Klavierauszüge.
yeah,
Everything.
It is the place to go.
and of course it was in Leipzig second half of 19th century,
Yeah.
so concentrated place of publishing
Yeah.
that they could reduce the prices and get best graphical quality and so on. That I think around 1900, 90% of all worldwide distributed print music came from Leipzig. And he established this, could build his own house 10 years later by an architectural concept of Otto Brückwald, which was afterwards commissioned to build the Green Hill in Bayreuth.
And this is the Peters house till today.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's a beautiful.
Where-
Yeah, it's
we
beautiful.
met,
That's
And it's
Very inspiring.
great. The rooms are constructed for this work, and
Yeah.
you can feel it. Yes.
Mhm.
And he established. He donated for different things because of this commercial success. He had a good editor, Alfred Dorfe, who was first antiquarian and brought in a big collection of manuscripts by famous composers. And Max Abraham opened this collection for the public as the first music library in Germany in 1894, 1st of January. and they have an amazing guest book with all famous composers and their signatures. And this is great. I've consulted with students in the seminary. Was
Show a film, right?
okay.
Okay.
And in 19 Abraham died, and his nephew Henry Hinrichsen took over, and he was not as close to the content, I would say, but had a good mind of managing all this company and the direction of publishing. And he founded many things of the cultural life in Leipzig. For example, the first high school for women in Germany, 200 meters far, today Henriette Goldschmidt Schule, and donated to buy this instrumental collection today in the university, coming from higher from Cologne, and gifted many pictures for the public museum, and was a lead donator for the city. And he was convinced that he is accepted, and couldn't imagine that he would be in the end murdered in Auschwitz, 1942. There is, and also a part of his family died there or in other concentration camps. Two of his sons founded new firms in UK and US. Max, the oldest son, named after Max Abraham, in London, and as a limited company, and Walter Hinrichsen, some impressions of the publishing house around 1900. This is the mentioned Alfred Dorfel working in the room where Edward Grieg lived, stayed in winter terms because it was too rainy in Bergen, in Norway. And there's the warehouse, and I don't know this. This is the room where I'm working in today. On the left side, you can see the head of editorial, Ollendorf. He was famous, and he was the head of, and all the others had to stay.
Okay, so I have to look at the watch. I have to be the bad guy. So if you want to, let's go to the.
Yes, comes. This was a private room for Abraham and Hinrichsen. This is Max Abraham, the London
Brother.
leader of the Limited, and this is Walter Hinrichsen, which was interesting because he was a so-called monumental man, based in Berlin, and dealing all these familiar things in Leipzig.
That was the second son.
He was the fourth.
Okay.
There was also still Paul, Hans-Joachim, and Robert.
And Ringo, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
These were the
addition.
The editions I've showed, which we made in 22. And
there's some new music here. I remember the Schauspiel, I think. Weinisch is a new composition in Yiddish for mixed choir that was commissioned to the Leipziger synagogal, and I was fortunate enough to participate in it. it's really interesting.
Different types
Yeah.
of titles.
Yeah.
For this Chankoye, I would have a music example.
Yeah.
This wenn ich this
Are you publishing more of this Yiddish material?
not
This is
yet,
one
but maybe this new synagogal music could
You have to
emerge.
As soon as we're done with the 8 volumes.
That's the music of Wenn nicht. Yeah. Bernd Franke is.
Let's talk maybe about how the Nazis took the edition and the story of Peter's being taken from its owners.
Yeah. Yeah. This was heavy. As I've read, it was too much valuable for the Nazis that they couldn't shut it down, but they need the valuta of the export. And a friend of Göring, Kurt Hermann, invested the money, never reached the Hinrichsens in their lifetime. And the head of content was a former employee at Schott in Mainz, Johannes Petschul. And he took over, and there are reports that Hinrichsen was not allowed to enter the office, but came in when the employees went home, and he met with Petschul to give over, to describe procedures and detailed information, and then he was de-owned in not exactly after the pogrom, but more or less a year after, in 1939, and then he had to flee and hesitate a bit, and of course from today's point of view too long. On this journey where he wanted to go to England, he stopped in Brussels, and his wife died there because she couldn't get the insulin as a Jewish woman, and he stayed there alone further on, and was discovered in a boarding house where they looked for another person, and they said, we need so many on this transport, and if you are this, doesn't matter, go with us. And it was the train directly to Auschwitz, and his sons, the poor, died also in Auschwitz, and Hans-Joachim in the concentration camp in Perpignan in South France. And all others were established, or in the case of Robert, he signed as Robert Harris to have an alter ego.
Okay, Christoph, I'm really sorry, but
Yeah.
we have to go back to the project.
Yes.
And so the thing that we've discussed is how to make the music performable for choirs today. And the problem is, even if you can retrieve the music from Kerstin's collection, you have bad prints, you have a lot of time, like small staves for the soprano, alto, tenor, bass together to save place. So sometimes it's difficult to read, but even if you have a great quality, you still have the problem with the transliteration.
Now Secho Israel.
Right, many things that you don't need. You don't know what's the apostrophe, is it shvana or what is it? And we said we want it to be, we want to save the language coaching as good as we can. And if you have, do you have the preface here also? No, okay, forget it.
Yes.
Next is, so we developed a very, very simplified table of transliteration, which is as follows. Maybe I want to explain very quickly what we did. First of all, in the English transliteration is the main principle. SH is shin, TS is tzadi. Then you have like all the aleph is A, E, I, O, U. Then no exceptions until you reach chet. Chet is H with a dash.
With a fatah under it.
Yeah. This is mainly of our experience in Germany. You don't want them to sing Eich, Eicha, because if a German speaking mother tongueler looks and see ECH or ICH, it's not going to be, it's going to be, and this drives many of us crazy. So we said we don't want, we don't want to trick the eye. We want them to not think, to not even think that it's. So this is both chet and chaf. We're not about teaching Hebrew.
Okay.
If you don't hear it differently, you don't have to write it differently. Again, we are ready to be criticized for that, but this is our decision to make it very simple. Ayin or glottal aleph is with this small dot
Under it.
Under it, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
A, I, O, U, all the vowels with a dot under it.
Na'aritzcha, for example. Na'aritzcha, N-A, dot.
Glottis.
For glottal consonants, a small dot under the A, E, I, O, U.
Which some would usually show it as an apostrophe or something.
Right.
That's how we solve it.
We have the Yud Itzurit, the consonantal Yud, which is like Yud is a bit, it's not a fricative, it's a, there's a name for that.
It's a lingual.
Yeah, it's quasi-fricative, there's Yud. So we use Y for that.
Yeah.
And otherwise it would be I. And the diphthongs. I, A, Oi, Ui. That's it. That's it. No apostrophes, no accent, no E standing on its head or anything.
And we used Y and not I, so the Germans will not read the EI as I.
As I, right.
A.
Yeah.
Right. So we just try to simplify matters as much as possible, and we decided to use this method to Sephardize or modernize or Israelize the Aussprache, but not change the metron. So and there's the question about the Ashkenazi or Sephardi.
Yeah.
So
What do you do
so
with
so I have a great example for that, which is probably the most famous piece of synagogal music in Germany, Lewandowski's Ma Tohu. Ma Tohu, Ma Tohu, Ma Tohu. You have two different mishkalim in 3 bars.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do? Do we need when we developed it, we tried to write like the accents on the transliteration, but then we realized that it's not working, that it's just giving too much information, which is just going to confuse the non-Hebrew speaking reader or choir singer, choir conductor. And again, this is our goal, to make it simple, to make it so thank you. So you see, אוהליך,
Yeah.
יעקב,
Can you
משכנות.
go one bar down? I want to show something.
Yeah.
Now, a beautiful example is the soprano sings Va'ani berov. Now the shvana is symbolized as an E because you sing it, but the accompanying voice is Va'ani brov chasdecha. Levanovsky wrote B apostrophe
Yeah,
rov.
right, yeah.
We took the apostrophes down. We don't want to confuse the I. We want to have it written as sung. So, as Assaf repeatedly said, this is not an academic work, and it is not. It is a practical.
Is the practical
Way for the choir singers to be able to know what to sing, and we're not trying to make it overly accurate. If it is not sound, it is not printed.
Yeah, and one more thing, right here, the Lecha Dodi, basically, Shvana is like Segol, is A.
Okay, yeah.
And again, we don't want to give too much information. If you want to study Hebrew, study Hebrew. We did decide to do something about the notation, and this is called achakatura in music notation. That is the grace note before the beat. Lecha, okay, lecha dodi. Yeah. So we're trying to be consequent about that. Again, to avoid any doubts. The main idea, I repeat that, I'll probably I bore you already. The main idea is just to make it very, very simple and easy to perform. I know for some of us, even for myself, this chet, I didn't like it too much in the beginning, but I got used to it. And whenever you sing a language which you don't know, sometimes we need to sing in Czech or in,
Oh, yeah.
and then you have to learn this, and it's once and for all, and then you know how to do it. But Hebrew, in many senses, is an easy language to coach, because you don't have the and the e, like you just have a, e, I, o, u, that's it. And then in modern Hebrew, you don't have het and chaf, kuf and kaf, bet and taf. So you ayin and aleph. So you don't need them in order to sing it correctly. You need them in order to speak Hebrew. But then again, go study Hebrew. We're just here. Just a second, Paul.
Yeah, I have a small remark. Afterwards, in concluding discussion, I have a longer observation.
Okay.
Okay, if you're going in the direction of making this easier,
Yeah.
I agree with much of what you said.
Mhm.
I must warn you that if you are going to Sephardize scores which were originally written in Ashkenazi pronunciation, then you have a big problem with the tonic accent.
We talked about this.
But
Hashivenu.
Yeah, we referred to this.
Most Chazanim sing Hashivenu, which is wrong. It's Hashivenu.
We don't talk about wrong and right
Okay,
here.
that's
Just-
just a warning. Second remark is, I do not agree with tzaddik being transliterated as TS.
I also don't.
Because if you have a shvanach, someone who doesn't know Hebrew will read let start at T and then S.
And then the S.
I suggest that just as you use the dot beneath the supralinea dot
Yeah.
to point out the head, then you could use a dot under the Z. This is to be pronounced sir. By the way, in Sephardi pronunciation, it's not sir, it's sir. It's an emphatic S.
We
But we're
had.
But we're not.
Joseph,
So I said Z with
We
a dot
had.
to
Yeah.
distinguish it from
I want to say.
Zion.
Thank you.
I also don't love the TS. We had this. We discussed it, not only the two of us, for hours.
The only reason why we didn't beat each other is that he was in Mannheim and I in Berlin.
But the problem is any other solution, Z with a dot or a C with a check thingamabob or whatever,
Yeah.
all of these things have many other ways that they could be read by Czech people, by Hungarians, by
that's
whatever.
true.
You create the same set of problems that you solve, the same
Yes.
amount of problems that you solve. So I don't like the solution, but it is practical. And I want to say just for a second that these two pieces will be sung tonight from this edition, not exactly the Peter's edition, but the draft that we handed Peter's with this transliteration.
And this
And
is maybe the right time to give you the
I was-
foreprint. You already have
I was
it.
in the rehearsals, and I have to sing, and of course the choir had to sing like 8 or 7 pieces with different transliterations, and these were the easiest ones. So they really had no problems once they realized, that's a ch, that was that basically. Ken, Gidon.
Maybe I missed this.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to decipher that very long chart. But a word like beiratecha,
Yeah.
what do you do with shva?
That's,
Shvana.
well, that depends. If the shva,
If it's sung,
we're just as
Beirate.
Oh, it depends on how they composed it. We are just as inconsistent as the composers were. As I showed, Va'ani brov chasdecha,
Yeah.
it's the bet is shvana, but we
Right.
didn't show it. Va'ani brov chasdecha, but the surprise is Va'ani berov, then it's an e. Otherwise, if it's not an e, it's nothing. Now there were also some composers who composed a shvanach as if it were a shvanah, which was wrong, but this is their problem, and we're not fixing that. We Sephardized it, we did not hyper-correct it, and this is the compromise that will be criticized from all parts.
I have an idea of how to explain what we did. If you have Waze or Google Maps or whatever on your smartphone,
Yes.
it shows you, like, you go like this also when you go south or east, if you have to go straight, right? I mean, you can put your Waze so that you go, it tells you go like this, but you have to go straight just because it's genordet, it's the north is right. We kind of decided that the north is straight ahead. Wherever we go north, right? And then we turn right and we go north, and then we turn left and we go north. So this is a very practical decision, and you're absolutely right from an academic point of view. Now, from an academic point of view, I am very happy to tell you that Mark and Kerstin are working on a thorough catalog that will help you retrieve, for no cost, all of this music and perform it or read it or learn it the way the composers wrote it. We made our thing is both artistic and commercial. That means we don't print every single piece of the Freimann Sammlung, but we have in Germany say the Qual der Wahl, the torture of choice. We have the torture of choice of leaving so many wonderful pieces out of the canon that we're writing. Christoph, I'm sure that we won't stop at 8, we'll probably have 50, so we will maybe, after we're done with that, we'll be able to print even more music for Kabbalat Shabbat, even more, or maybe a few of the composers who are good enough or interesting enough to do a whole edition. I don't know. But first of all, we're going to give a first kind of canon of 100 years of synagogal music that is practically non-existent. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question about the volumes that are about to be released. Is it like according to places, according to...
No, it's according to liturgical logic. So the first one is Kabbalat Shabbat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Im deutschsprachigen Raum.
Yeah. Kabbalat Shabbat, Shabbat, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Regalim, Pilgerfeste, small, minor holidays, life cycle, and miscellaneous.
These two pieces are from Berlin and Munich, and they will be in the same volume.
Because they belong to Kabbalah Shabbat.
So are you interested in kind of to show us the variety of different like local styles in Germany for every?
No, we're interested in showing the best music for Kabbalah Shabbat that was written in Germany between 1838 and 1938 to our best knowledge and conscience, knowing that we're limited to about 100 pages of sheet music per edition. Johannes. So this is our it's a liturgical logic. I think we're almost done. Johannes wanted to ask something?
No.
Oh,
To make a comment.
Yeah, Paul.
There is one very big problem, and generally, Mark mentioned that he has a catalogue of 130,000 pieces. It's extraordinary.
No,
Pages,
no, 100.
titles.
130,000 recorded items.
Okay, so the repertoire is astronomical. It's enormous. And there's some very beautiful pieces there. How is it that on the receiving end, and I'm a great fan of Kantoren music, I'm exposed to it the whole time in Israel, with different concerts in synagogue, and they have a repertoire, and I'm not exaggerating, of 30 pieces at the most. I'm being generous. They sing the same thing over and over and over again. The big problem is how to publicize, how to make people aware, even teachers of Jewish music.
Well, giving it to Petas is a start. I think giving it to Petas is a good start of promoting this music internationally. We're thinking already of how to raise awareness not only in London and Germany and everywhere where Petas is very active, but also across the ocean. There's a big scene, but this is more like a question, a commercial question, and not an artistic one. I totally agree with you that there's so much repertoire to be discovered, which is just as good as the repertoire that everybody knows. We're trying here to promote it also just by giving people the chance to sing whatever they want, and by presenting these. There's a lot of in the two choral concerts that we did yesterday and today, a lot coming from this book, which is not standard repertoire like the Adon Olam from Be'er, which we sang last night. It was important for me to bring Be'er because Be'er is so verdienstvoll for Chazanim, right? So he wrote like maybe 1-2 choral pieces. I wanted to have one of them. What's the time? Okay, so that's when we had.
Yeah, Mr. Johannes.
1 minute. Yeah, my name is Johannes, and I'm a choir master at a big church in Mannheim. I have several choirs to conduct, and all over my life I did a lot of Jewish music with these choirs, non-professional and also sometimes professional choirs. So I have a lot of experience, and I'm the customer of your product here. And I must congratulate you, the editors Assaf and Amnon. It's a great work, and also the publisher. I'm very thankful for this. I think this is really great. Yesterday, perhaps you missed me because I had a rehearsal with my big choir, and we did we started with the Bernstein Chichester Psalms, and the transliteration is a little similar to this here, but now I think yours it's better with this schedule here with vowels and the letters, and I'm very thankful for this, and I think this is a very good way to make the things practicable for our choirs, and not only in Germany. For German it's good as you did it, but not only for the German market, I think. I have a little tear in my eyes because I always like the Ashkenazi pronunciation. And so on.
You don't
so
mean
I always think, okay, my grandfather's my Jewish a family, they heard it 100 years ago like this, so I don't know. But I think for an international market, it's good to do it like this.
But really, we didn't forget you. The tear you can wash you can wipe the tear because of the incredible project that Mark and Kerstin are doing to make the music even more available than it is right now.
And it's not practicable with a normal choir to make a difference between and so on. This is not, it's not possible to sing with choir. So I think, congratulations.
Thank you. Guys,
we're here for lunch.
So once again, Christoph, Koop, thank you very much. Both of you are staying for the day and you're coming with us to the concert. So, and of course, you're most welcome to see the wonderful master classes and just, you know, you're with us today, and also food, of course, everything.
And if you have questions, please contact me.
Yes, of course. Mark, thank you very much. And,